welcome to the Star in Focus podcast. I am Deanna Oakes, your host, and with us today we have Katie Ochetal, who is the founder and director at Claritas Depositions. Hi, Katie, how are you?
Hi, Deanna. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course, thanks for being on. It's always nice to see what other people in different avenues of this great profession are doing and creating and how you're thriving. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are.
Sure. So I started in this business actually quite a long time ago. For people who've been around a long time, they might know Susan Paulson. She worked in court reporting in California, and she gave me my first job when I was 16. My dad is,
16, wow.
yeah, my dad is a practicing attorney, and if I didn't have school or if, I was just out and about with him, I often tagged along to other depositions in the court reporting office. And kind of eventually someone said, "Do you want a job? You're always here." And so
Oh,
I
wow.
really just started in the office, kind of doing basic things that you'd have any teenager do, and then worked my way into more serious positions, worked kind of across all of the departments of a court reporting office. And in 2009, I moved from San Diego to New York, had a position here, and recently moved over to Claritas Depositions just about a year ago. We're a brand new startup, so I'm kind of starting all over, doing something a little bit different. But yeah, it's been a long road, but it's been really fun.
That's amazing. And it's just really profound to be able to create something and watch it grow, see it go from ground zero. I mean, when I first met you, you hadn't even, I don't think you had even started. I think we were talking about, okay, this is going to get off the ground in January. And how has that been? I mean, what have you seen? I'm sure you've learned a ton, but like, what are some of the major things you've seen and maybe even changed now that you've been in for, almost a year?
So I have a steno reporting background. I was never a working reporter, but the agencies I always worked at provided, steno reporting exclusively. And now making a transition to an agency that exclusively provides digital reporting has been a huge learning experience. I've learned way more than I actually thought I was going to. I had a lot of misconceptions and really kind of preconceived notions about what digital reporting was and where it would fit into the industry. I kind of came into it with one philosophy about how we were going to take this company. And the first few months were very much just research and learning and talking to everybody that I could and just diving deep into the internet and speaking to different case administrators and people in courthouses and different reporters. And it's really evolved into something a lot different than what I planned, but I think it's going really well. I think digital reporting has, there's a lot of bad information out there. And so
Oh, sure.
once you kind of funnel through all of that, you really get to the root of what being a digital reporter is and can be within the industry. And that's been really exciting to see the comparisons between digital and steno and voice and how realistically they're not that far apart. It's really kind of comes down to a technology issue. But as a profession, having 20 years experience in exclusively steno and then making the switch over, it's been really exciting and challenging to say the least.
I'm sure. I mean, there's no matter what business, right? Starting a new business always comes with its challenges,
Yeah.
but what I mean, there is a need for it. I mean, that we need reporters no matter what the methodology is. The baseline is that we need reporters. And so do you feel like because of that, that's just kind of been able to give you a foundation to move forward? I know you mentioned you were exclusively digital, so it sounds like you haven't felt the need to like, branch out and maybe do I don't know if that would even including other methodologies would just add, an overwhelming amount of work in your platform or anything like that. I mean, how is that coming along?
Yeah, startup life is unique in that you are in 100 different directions every day. And what we've been finding with our client base is, law firms are our primary clients. And every once in a while, we have a firm who asks us for a service we don't offer. Something like, can you provide an interpreter for depositions? Listen, we partner with a lot of great companies who provide interpretation. We're happy to do that. If you kind of run the gamut of legal services, law firms have asked us about them. And for us, it's okay, one at a time. Let's get really good at this one and then see where we can build out. And for our clients who do want a voice reporter or a steno reporter, there's a lot of great places we can refer them to. It's just for now, we really want to excel and specialize in digital reporting, kind of the way that no one else maybe is. And then for anything else our clients need, we're happy to send them along to someone else.
Right.
Yeah.
And that, which I think is really great to have some other resources to rely on. So, but are you feeling like you have enough resources? Do we need more digital reporters? I mean, what's kind of the growth pattern that you're seeing here? Because I feel like I've heard there are more depositions happening now than have been happening in, the last 30 years or whatever. And we're here at Star, we want to reach people that don't know about our profession and let them know we need you here. And the work is out there. We know that for sure. But, what are some of the things that you're seeing when it comes to this new, new to you at least, right? New to me for sure, digital reporting avenue?
Yeah, we definitely have enough resources to cover our assignments when you think of it on a day-to-day basis. What we are finding, because we're a newer company and we're kind of getting our name out there, we are often a company that clients perhaps call when they're scrambling. Oh, I heard of this new company, maybe they can help. And listen, that's a great way for us to get in the door, right? But it,
Yeah.
it is demonstrating that there is still that urgency. But
Right.
what I've really liked about digital reporting is being able to take on some student interns, brand new digital
Ooh,
reporters, people who are
yeah.
currently going through programs like the ones they have at Tri-C, or they're learning other with other programs as well. And we've been able to kind of take some reporters from their infancy and now have them working for us. And that time period has been so short, which is so different than what I found in steno reporting. Um, we are still definitely, we have an outline for our interns. We have requirements as far as shadowing and quality and making sure that everyone's got what they need in place. But the ramp up time to get into the industry and working efficiently is so much quicker. And we have found that is definitely a benefit when it comes to the lack of resources that the industry is facing.
Yeah, I'll say. And it's also a good thing for people who don't want to spend, years and years in school and then just, you know what I mean? Some people just want to hit the ground running. And if you're qualified, right? If you get your certifications, then why not? Who wants to take the time to just let the interest on your student loans build up, right? I
Right.
mean, I am definitely singing that song. So you had a background in steno. Did you did you get certified? I'm sorry if you said this, but did you get certified as a steno?
No, so I am a steno school dropout. I'm
Okay.
one of the unfortunate many that go to steno school, and it's tough. I mean, it is really,
Oh my
really
gosh.
tough. And I got to about 180 words per minute, all the while also working at a court reporting agency. And I realized that the best steno reporters that I had and that I knew and who were super successful, they really loved the craft. They were excited about it and they loved practicing and they loved talking about it and they really enjoyed the job. I did
Yeah.
not enjoy it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I
It's so much more challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I got good at it theoretically. I understood the theory and using briefs and speed, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I liked being on the administrative side of the industry and working with the clients and the attorneys and having a network of reporters. That felt more like I had a better place there than I did as a steno reporter.
For sure. So we were talking briefly off camera about some certifications, and you did get certified to be a digital reporter, even though you're not a reporter, right?
Yes. So I went through a training course and took the AAERT certification test. It's called a CDR, so Certified Deposition Reporter. I don't actually ever have any intention of being a working digital reporter, but coming into this side of the business new and not having as much of an understanding of it, not having all those years of experience, I really wanted to know what knowledge was being required of digital reporters in order to obtain a certification. Because
Sure.
some bad press about digital reporting that it's just recording and that's it and that's all they're doing and I wanted to know what was that test really about, what was being required, and did I think it was enough? Um, I've got some really high quality standards, so I wanted to make sure that the test was hard and that the reporters who were taking it really did have to prepare. And I can confirm that there's a lot of that goes into it. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of legal process and industry knowledge. It's not just equipment, which of course is also very important, but what I find
Right.
about being a reporter to be the most important component is having an understanding of the profession and being a person in the room who's protecting a record and certifying its accuracy. And that is paramount to whether or not you are using a steno machine, a laptop, of a steno mask. Those things are secondary to who you are as a professional.
I could not agree more. And that's something that I think of. I don't usually engage in those type of vitriolic conversations because it's just not worth my time. But I do think oftentimes when those things come up, and people are so very just, I'm trying to think of the word, but they're so intensely steno forward, and they believe wholeheartedly that there's no other way. And then I think, well, would you rather have, because there are bad stenographers, so would you rather have somebody who's not good at the craft, or maybe, like you said, just not a great professional in general? Or would you rather have somebody who's top notch and a digital reporter? And like I said, I don't engage in those conversations, but I absolutely think about it because that's what really matters, is who that person is and how they perform, right? Like how they show up, and their presentation in that environment is really, really important. And I'm sure you've heard all kinds of horror stories too, because attorneys can be ornery, but it's
Yeah.
like you have to be able to conduct yourself in a way that is just professional above all else. And I don't think attorneys really care, to be honest. I was just in a deposition like a week or two ago, very recently, and he was telling me this story because he was so shocked at how recent it was. It was like in the early 2000s. He had a reporter doing pen
Oh,
shorthand.
wow.
And he was like, I was looking for her machine and she just had her pen and paper. I know. And I was blown away. He's like, I was blown away too, And so we were just having this dialogue about how that's how she just showed up. And like I said, it was not that long ago. And he said the transcript was perfect.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show you that it's not, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily, the methodology. It's absolutely not the methodology. It's the product. And so I'm really happy to be on the team of positivity and, engaging with people like you who have seen that firsthand, working from 20 years in stenography, in that realm, and then seeing this. And I mean, the product, would you say, is exactly the same?
At Claritas, at the level of quality that we're providing and the technology we're utilizing, yes. I obviously can't speak to the industry as a whole, but all of our clients can have immediate rough draft, streaming real time expedited transcripts. So attorneys can have the same experience and the same product that they would with a steno reporter. And I think it's important for them to understand, and perhaps the industry as a whole to understand, that multiple things can be true at the same time. You can be
Yeah.
a great working high quality digital reporter, and you can be a great working high quality steno reporter, and one doesn't take away from the other. Some attorneys might have a preference. I would imagine 90% of them do not, especially a lot of the newer attorneys coming into the industry in the wake of the pandemic, when we had to embrace so much technology, paperless exhibits, remote depositions. It's kind of really started to move that process along, which I really love.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it's natural for people to be scared of things they don't understand. But I think it's really important for those of us that, have a little bit more of a grasp on it to really advocate for the fact that we have to be unified and we have to stay together and take control of this. And we're stronger together. I feel like I say that all the time, but I really believe it's true. And I have been considering actually getting my digital reporting certification because just like you, I want to know what's out there, what's available. How can I, because who knows, maybe an attorney does want a digital, or I can't even fathom like the millions of possibilities, but I just feel like you might as well have an extra tool in your toolbox,
Right?
it just feels like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So when, as the founder and director of your company, do you just have a bunch of equipment? Are digital reporters responsible for their own equipment, like stenos are responsible for their own equipment? How does that work?
Yeah, so there's not many differences between the two types of requirements, at least not from my perspective. All of the depositions we do are remote. We only actually offer remote services for our clients. So if they want something in person, again, happy to refer them elsewhere. And it doesn't mean that we won't do in-person events eventually, but if we're so focused on technology, number one is use the technology to do your deposition, that, and I struggle to find people who want to go back to in-person for everything, at least for some component. I'm sure there's attorneys who want to do in person, but those same attorneys probably don't want to be in the office every day. Right. So,
Right.
we're working with that. But when it comes to the actual tech that our digital reporters are using, we have some requirements as far as the type of laptops they have or desktops, what the bandwidth is, what their internet's like. And then if reporters are doing things in person, they are required to get all their own mixers, microphones, soundboards, anything that they're going to use to capture there that is their equipment to maintain, as well as anything they're using as far as backups. So the big misconception about digital reporting is it's just one recording, and if it fails, you're out of luck, which
Right.
if it was like that, that would be awful. But we're using redundant backups 3 times over. So our reporters are required to have all that in place as well, because stuff happens. We know the internet, the weather, people, animals knocking things over. We've seen it all.
Yeah.
We've heard it all, especially through the pandemic. So yeah, they maintain their own equipment. There's a knowledge base needed as far as the software that they're using, whether it's something like MacScribe or any of the other ones on the market. There's quite a lot now. So yeah, there is a level of professionalism that's required with all of that, the same as it is with other reporters.
So I'm really interested in, one of the things that I find, I think as a benefit to digital reporting, is when I'm writing and I have people, and this is in person, right? So when I'm writing and I have people talking at the same time, I either have to interrupt or, it's a whole thing, right? Because I can't capture all of that. But my understanding is now, Stenograph was demoing some mics that they have that are like, how they don't, there's a word for it, but they don't essentially pick up the background noise.
Correct.
So that, you're on mic 1, you're on mic 5, whatever it might be. So they can all capture that crosstalk, which I cannot do. And I think that's incredible. But how do you manage that when it's a video conference, when people are speaking at the same time? What's the policy or procedure behind that?
So, as a rule, I tell reporters if this crosstalk is happening, jump in. No different than a steno reporter, jump in. The technology is great, and the microphones you mentioned are great. When you're doing it remote, you can have speaker diarization of your audio channels. So, our remote platform, you would say I would select audio channel 1 for you. I'd be audio channel 2. Our producer would be audio channel 3. Those channels are then designated to a digital reporter's capture software, which is where your AI transcription is coming from. So it knows who's who. Crosstalk is still going to happen. And even as the technology gets better, I just think industry standards should always be for the reporter to, as politely and best as possible, discourage that from happening. And we know that some reporters are better than others at that. Some attorneys are more receptive than others. And, as professionals, it's your judgment. It's your judgment call to make in that moment. But yeah, the tech is great. It works really well.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes perfect sense. I didn't even realize that obviously if they're in their own, space using their own laptop or whatever they're using to stream that virtually, they have their own mic. So I didn't know that you could do that without being in person, and that's absolutely brilliant. That is such great technology to be able to utilize. And of course, we do discourage crosstalk, but it's just the way of life, I feel so bad when I interrupt, but it's just like, I can't capture it. I know this is, and I often want to be like, this is not a conversation. This is testimony,
Right.
like I want to, but obviously you can't say anything to that degree, but yeah, that is something that is a big challenge.
What I always did working in an agency, what I always tell attorneys, and as carefully as I can tell some clients this, is which complaint would you like? Do you want to complain to me that your reporter interrupted, or do you want to complain to me that your transcript is missing testimony? Because it's going to be one or the other if you don't cooperate.
Yeah, that's a really well put, and I'm going to pocket that tidbit of information because yeah, it really has to be one or the other, And I always give a little blurb at the beginning when it's on Zoom or whatever platform you're using that only one person's audio feed can come through at a time for me, especially with Zoom, which is what I think most people are using. So, and oftentimes I don't know when you are learning, but oftentimes I have to like stare at something or do you know what I mean? So that I can just focus and use my ears and not my eyes. So I might not even be looking and realizing that you're talking, right? So it's a whole thing. It's just
Yeah, I
like,
mean, the nice thing about these platforms is they don't actually function the same way we're used to as Zoom. So with Zoom and Teams and WebEx, one person's audio cuts off the other, right? So it's like, oh no,
yeah.
this person started talking and interrupting, and now I don't get what that I didn't hear the end of the question. But when you have the separate audio channels and it's audio recording and feeding into an ASR system, you're still getting it, even if the other guy started talking.
Yes, which is brilliant. I mean, that's just absolutely really, really important, especially because usually or oftentimes when that happens, there's some things that are being said that I think should be being captured, but that's just my two
Yeah, I mean,
cents.
it's
People go,
it's probably an important moment to have on paper because someone's going to want to bring it up.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, I'm so happy that Claritas is doing so well, especially because I don't feel like we've really chatted since you were just getting things started. Do you have any like words of wisdom for people that are maybe thinking about joining the industry, or any sort of big lessons you've learned that you want to share with us?
Think if you are an agency who offers steno reporting and you want to explore digital, I don't think you should be afraid to do so. And yes, I'm speaking to my competitors right now, right? But I think as a whole, if we as an industry approach digital collectively as needs to be the same as steno reporting when it comes to quality and professionalism and requirements, then there won't be that disconnect and divide between people. I mean, sure, it'll probably still exist in some capacity because people don't often change their minds, but hold digital to the same high standards that people are requiring for steno reporting. And if you're a student and maybe you're in school for steno and you're just not getting in and it's too hard, because it is hard, explore
Yeah.
digital because you can still have a professional career, making great money, making your own hours, all of the benefits that come with being a freelance reporter. You're just using a different machine, a different piece of technology within that career, for yourself. Um, if you're neither a student or an agency and you're brand new and you're like, oh my gosh, what's digital reporting? Reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with anybody about it. There's a lot of people who are really excited about it, whether or not it's something that people explore after having that conversation, that's up to
Yeah.
them. But I think it's a great place. It's such a niche industry, right? You kind of don't end up in it unless you know someone or you randomly heard about it. But once you're here, there's so many opportunities.
Yes, and I think that is definitely the thesis of everything that I want us to share is that the opportunity is there. You find people I don't know if our generation is the right phrasing, but nowadays they say that people will change their career 3 times. I mean, that's a lot. So
Yeah.
that gives, a wide range of people looking for something to do to earn money. And I think that it's really nice to be able to offer, especially parents and, just people that need to have time at home, and an opportunity to do things. And as much as I do love steno, I also love the fact that people can get done with school quickly and get out into the workforce because we need people in the workforce. If we can't figure out a way to fill those vacant reporter positions, something is going to happen that's going to disrupt everything in a bad way, So
Right.
I literally could care less how we get reporters. I mean, I care, but do you know what I mean? We need people in our workforce, and it's great once you get here, but stenography is really challenging, and it was really, really hard for me to do. And now that I have it, I'm like, it's
Right.
mine and I'm never letting it go, I've earned it and I'm tattooed on me, but I think the sky's the limit and the opportunities out there are really what we should be focusing on because people want to hear and learn about good things, ways they can make money
Mhm.
and be prosperous. And this feels like such a great avenue that you can do that without going into, $65,000 of debt or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. You don't need a college education to do this. I highly encourage people to have perhaps 2 years of college or all of those extra classes that I know are built into a lot of the programs, but you don't have to have a master's degree to do this. You don't have to have a
Right.
$60,000 college education to be a reporter of any capture method. I think we really
Right.
should focus more on people who maybe don't want to go to college.
Yeah.
It's a big decision to make when you're only 18 to decide to take out a ton of loans and go to this school. And I'm not using my
Yeah.
college degree really. So
I don't know what the statistic is, but it's like a staggering number of people that actually do not use their degree. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that people, in my personal life, I'm very, break the traditions, right? Because people just go down this path because they think they should. And it's like you said, then you have this degree and, hopefully not a lot of debt, but probably. And so, yeah, I think it's really smart for people to take the time to think of what's best for them. But at 18 years old, I mean, my goodness, I, no, that was not in my mind at all. So how long did it take you to get since you were already in the industry, how long did it take you to get that certification?
well, I got my certification pretty quickly because I had so much industry knowledge already. When I took the CDR test, there's a good component of it that is legal terminology, legal structure as far as our court systems and all of the players involved. I didn't have to spend any time learning that. I've been doing this for so long that I already understood those things. Now, if you're coming in brand new, I would say you're definitely going to want to spend a few months in a course. And then you're going to want to get some training under your belt and some shadowing. That's one thing that we always require is that our digital reporters shadow with one of our working reporters, turn in the same work, obviously not produce anything to final. That's what our certified reporter will be doing, but doing all of the same things before getting that certification. So it didn't take me long, but I don't really count, right? I'm coming in with
That's
all this
fair.
knowledge.
No, that's
Yeah, but if you're a new student, you're doing it. It's months. It's months before you're working. It is not years, and
right.
that's huge. And you can be working, and just like steno reporting, I think it's really important for people to remember. There's categories of depositions there or types
Yeah.
of proceedings, and
Right.
the steno reporters who are seasoned and have been doing this 20, 30 years, the ones who we are eventually going to lose to retirement, they are the best of the best, and rightfully so. They've been doing it a really long time, but you have to start somewhere. And it's just like that with digital reporting. You have to start with the short proceedings and the ones where you don't have the senior partner breathing down your neck, barking questions, rapid fire. We're going to put you in the easy things
Yeah.
first. That's no different than
Yeah.
steno, but it's months as opposed to years before you get to those levels.
Right. Which is, yes, just so nice for people that really do want to excel. And like you said, it's professionalism. So I'm sure, if somebody's able to prove themselves very early on, there's no reason that they can't excel in that arena. It's just a matter of showing up and doing the work and all of that. How are your reporters? I mean, do they work, do they love their jobs? Are they working for multiple firms? What kind of a relationship? Like, how do you feel like they're doing?
I think they're doing really well. One nice thing that we only do remote proceedings, which our reporters love just as much as steno reporters love. Who wants to leave the house?
Yeah.
So I'm finding that a lot of digital reporters haven't diversified as much. They are more sticking to one agency. And so what I've really been encouraging people to do is network, spread out, work for a lot of different companies. I don't mind if you tell me, oh, I'm not available that day, I'm working for so and so. Great. To me, that means an assignment is being covered. And
Right.
while it's not mine, at least it means someone's getting what they need. A client in this business is getting what they need. And so
Right.
digital reporters should reach out. They should join associations. They should know as many people as possible because there's plenty of work out there. But they're doing really well. We're holding them to a high standard, and I think they appreciate that because I know without naming any names that there are definitely some companies in the market that don't do that. And I think what we've done successfully is we've given digital reporters a home that's specific to them. We only do
Yes.
digital reporting. We really encourage it and we champion it. And so people have really appreciated that.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, if you're going to be good at something, right? Pick something and just, make it your thing. And it
Yeah.
seems like that's what you've done. And it's really nice to hear the transition of how you've been able to go from struggling as a student and ultimately dropping out to now as a founder of this remarkable company that's, successful and giving people opportunities, filling jobs for clients. I mean, there's so much pride in that. I hope you feel amazing for that journey that you were on and you're still on.
Yeah, and I kind of didn't think that I would end up here. When digital reporting started to get more popular, I realistically kind of wrote it off and thought, not necessary or we're fine. But it was kind of, if I don't want to say if you can't beat them, join them, because it wasn't a competition. It was more, this is happening anyway, and I want to be a part of it because I want to have a say in how it's done. And I
Exactly.
want to make sure
Yeah.
that it's done the same way that it's been done, that is accepted by the industry and that is required by the industry. I don't want it to be subpar. The importance of a legal record is huge. Access to justice, equal representation is really important. And you need vendors to be able to provide those services for everybody. And so why not do it at the same high quality that we've been doing it for years?
Definitely. Especially because it is a fairly new, and I mean, that may not actually be accurate because I met somebody at AAERT who was literally retiring from a 30-year
Mhm.
career as a official digital reporter. So I have learned a lot just doing this podcast. I had no idea that it was around for that long. So, new is not necessarily the right word, but it's more prevalent now and people are aware of it in a way that they weren't. And a lot of people still aren't aware of it. So I'm, glad that, you're able to, like I said, take charge because if we don't, then that's somebody else is going to, right? And so you might as well get in while you can and set that standard really high. And it seems like you have been doing a great thing over there. So I'm really happy for you.
Thanks. Yeah, we're trying to carve out our little corner of the industry and see how much influence we can have. Obviously, we want to be a successful business, but to me, it's really important to have some influence on the industry and make sure we're doing it right.
Definitely. And at the end of the day, like you said, that's really what matters is that product and those standards. And so that's amazing. That's really great. Is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners that you think might be a little nugget of information or you think we've captured it all? What do you got?
No, I think we've covered it, but from a freelance perspective, I will just say that I think I think you mentioned it earlier, I think we're stronger together if, as an industry, we bond over what's important versus fighting over what's not. We'll get a lot more accomplished. Something that I used to always say to employees is if you put as much energy into fighting over things as you did to actually being productive, we'd all be gajillionaires. you
Right.
know, we
Yeah.
would, if we refocused our efforts, the standards would be so much higher across the board. And like you said before, there's bad stenographers out there. There's awful attorneys out there. There's difficult paralegals. There's tough agency employees. None of us are exempt from
Right.
there being problems. And so if we can
Yes.
all just work harder to fix the ones that we have and maintain those high levels of quality across the board, I think everyone will be better off.
100%. And yes, and the two truths at the same time, I think is really powerful too. I meant to say at that time that I think that that's a really important message to get across, right? Like instead of but, it's and,
Mhm.
it's you're great at what you do and you are great at what you do. And obviously, we're going to see more of these, companies and hopefully more of you and your progress and share with us your success stories because that's what we want to hear. We want to hear about all the success and all of the employment opportunities that you're giving to people and the jobs that you're filling. And it's just great. I admire your journey a lot and I'm really happy for where you are. Um, Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and just let people know, what your story is and how they can be a part of it. It's really monumental to influencing people. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it so much. I'm always happy to talk about this. I saw this TikTok or video or something that said, you have half an hour to talk about anything for $1 million and you can't stop. It's like, oh, perfect. I can talk about this.
Yes, I love it. I would like to split that million
Yeah.
with you, please. Well, thank you so much, Katie. Again, she is with Claritas Depositions, so feel free to reach out for her. Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you to our viewers, and we will be back next week. Have a great one, guys.